Okay, so welcome everyone. Pretty sweet, eh? This is a pretty sweet PowerPoint too. Um, so this is going to be a bit of a different monthly meeting because it's our first one. And we got to introduce everyone to what's happening. There's too many people to do like individual introductions, so we were just talking about doing sort of like some one-on-one introductions that are set up by a Slack bot or something after the fact. But we'll get into that later. We have a bunch of details we got to cover right now. So to begin, congratulations. It was a very difficult step to get here. You clicked a Slack link and a Zoom link. So definitely a lot of steps there. But definitely this is going to be a fun journey for us to all go on. But this is definitely just the start. We've got a lot of work to do, but we'll step through everything and hopefully you guys all enjoy it. So today we're going to talk about just some general information, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. We're then going to break down into like the design and operations side. I kind of want to give not so much like the details of what specifically they do, but more so what's coming up for them. And they'll also break down, especially for the design side, like what sort of engineering skills you'll be using so that you can sort of gauge, which teams are of most interest to you. That's kind of the idea of this whole presentation, is to give people the ability to decide where they want to go. We'll also go into the graduate level program, which is kind of where we got this whole idea from and who's supporting us. We've also got some additional information at the end, and then any questions. I'm now realizing that is in the wrong order because we're going to do general information and then talk about the CubeSat project. But to begin, there's kind of a shit ton of information here, so sorry for information overload, but we're recording it and we're going to upload it to YouTube as like an unlisted video, and send it in a Slack and via email so that you guys can look back on it in case you missed anything. That being said, if anyone has issues with like them being recorded, they shouldn't show up in the video, but if they do and don't want to, just let me know. So here's our two faculty advisors. Technically, Dr. Sabrina Thon is our actual faculty advisor. She's a principal investigator for what's called the UK Pick 1. We'll get into that in just a second. And someone else that's helping out as well is Dr. Matt Cross, and he's their project manager. So UKPIC 1 is this, I think it's UKPIC or UKPIC, I'm not 100% sure, but it's a collaboration between Western University and Archer Nunavut College. And this is sort of like the graduate level and postdoc level CubeSat project. And so when we first started this project, I really wanted to just go and help with this. But unfortunately, this was like an approved thing through the CSA, Canadian Space Agency. It's one of their contracts they gave out. So we can't really just easily jump in and get our hands dirty on this sort of stuff because they have certain, like contractual obligations that they have to meet and all that kind of stuff. They just recently found out that they're going to have two launches actually coming up, one in 2021, one in 2022. So the idea of WASP is to be the undergraduate equivalent to what they're doing here, and give us the ability to actually, do the stuff instead of just doing the back end research and letting them do all the fun stuff of putting it together. This gives us the opportunity to get our hands dirty as well. So there is a bit of a potential for us to help out with them. They have indicated that with their ground station, they're working on finding a spot on campus to, or a spot that Western can use as a ground station. And so there might be some availability for us to help out with building that. They're also about to start flight hardware procurement after their critical design review. I think it's early next year. And so they might want some help on that we can definitely give to them. And then when it comes to integration and testing, if any of us want to, see an actual CubeSat, we can do that as well. So back to our team here. Most of you probably are already on the Slack, but just as a reminder, install either the desktop or mobile version because the browser version kind of sucks. It doesn't send you notifications unless you can figure that out. Regardless of what you use, just make sure to check it frequently. There's a lot of stuff happening, and the only way you're going to know it's happening is obviously if you check Slack. In hashtag announcements, one of the channels on the Slack, there's actually a whole bunch of calendars that you can subscribe to. There's both Google Calendar subscriptions and like iCal subscriptions, depending on what kind of application you use. Subscribe to the ones you're interested in because that's where we're going to start throwing events and meetings into, and so you'll know what's coming up. Google Drive, the link's also in the announcement post. Make sure you bookmark that or attach it into your Google Drive because that's where all of our files and stuff are going to be going. So This team, we touched on it a bit before, we're going to be competing in the Canadian Satellite Design Challenge, or the CSDC for short. Right now, they're kind of in a bit of a holding pattern with their previous competition just because of COVID, but it's kind of a benefit to us because most teams generally have 2 years to complete the competition and have been doing it for a long, long time. We're starting from scratch and having to do it. If we had to do it in 2 years, it would have been a little tight, but now we have a bit of extra time to get our team off the ground and then start building, which is perfect. As for meetings, what we're doing right here is only going to happen, once a month or so. We don't really need to have everybody group in and work schedules out all the time because that's just kind of unreasonable. It's just an opportunity for us to check in with everyone and see updates on how everything's working. So the format of this meeting will obviously change for the next one, and it'll be a lot of you guys saying what sort of stuff you've been working on your design teams, and it'll be a bit more informal while we're able to discuss stuff back and forth. When it comes to the design and ops side, we're thinking we'll have a meeting every 2 weeks-ish, but it really depends on how much we actually need it. I mean, a lot of people are really good at just working on their own, so we don't have to sit here and handhold people, basically. And then with the sub teams as well, it's going to be up to the sub teams to decide how often their meetings are, but that'll probably be, once a week or so, just like a quick check-in, see what's going on. Maybe like a 2-hour block every so often if you guys want to just like grind some work out or something like that. There will be fees for this team. Unfortunately, that's just like due to the nature of what we're doing. It's something that we need to be able to collect. But I want you guys to be able to freely check out this team and see if it's for you before actually committing to it. So we're going to push that until end of November. And the best part about what you're paying for is it also comes with a friggin' sweet t-shirt that our marketing team's going to make. So if you want to be on marketing and make a t-shirt, go for it. But yeah, we're not going to do that until end of November. So don't feel any obligation to do anything before then. When that time does come though, we're going to start ordering shirts. So we do ask that people, pay on time. That way we're able to get everyone a shirt and a bit of other merch. COVID kind of fucking sucks. So because we're back in phase 3, we can't go on campus, which is kind of okay because we're mostly in the theoretical design side of our design phase. But when it does come time to actually go on campus, we don't really know how shop time is going to work. We do have the availability of each location on campus, but we might be able to swing it that we can go into the facilities that the UK PIC CubeSat project is working in. We might be able to use some of that, but we just don't know yet. So we're just going to chill on Zoom for the time being, and it's really all we need for the current design phase anyway. I know a lot of this seems a little dry, but I mean, like, I also like to have fun and stuff. So occasionally, a couple of us over the summer, we would, have little mixers or Zooms where we play a couple games, have a couple drinks, hang out, that kind of stuff. I want that to be the same thing for everyone. It's kind of boring sitting at home all day doing nothing. So honestly, we're going to try and do as much as we can to get everyone involved. If you have ideas for stuff, feel free to, send it in chat. If you want to schedule things, go for it. We just want to have a lot of fun with everyone while doing something cool as hell. So this is probably the biggest thing that I get from a lot of people is they're like, hey, I don't know even what a satellite does, how it works. I don't know how orbits work, any of that stuff. Me too. That's kind of expected. Don't think that you need to know everything to be able to join this team. The idea is we're going to be learning everything we need to know along the way. Even the people who are running teams don't know all the answers. So a lot of it's going to be learning where to find where those answers are. So we're going to jump into the design side of the team. I'll pass it off to each team lead to do a quick breakdown of what's up with them. And then we'll flip over to ops as well. We're going to start off with Dea with the attitude, determination, and control system.
I think Dea might be at work.
Yeah, she definitely just messaged me about that. So I'm actually going to talk about the ADCS. It's actually a really freaking cool subsystem. So this is sort of the thing that keeps our CubeSat pointing the right way and ensuring that relative to the sun and relative to the earth, we know our location. And this does involve, like a decent amount of complex math, but if you've learned it already, you're ahead of the game. If you haven't learned it, it's really not that hard when you sit down and think about it. It just takes a bit of dedication. And we'll obviously help out, give you resources for all that kind of stuff, and make sure that you're able to learn it before we actually jump into it. But this does involve, modeling our CubeSat in 3D space, and then using these things called magnetorquers, which are just like big copper coils, to be able to actually turn our spacecraft when it's orbiting Earth. Which to me, that sounds cool as hell because you're friggin' moving a satellite. But yeah, this involves a lot of electrical stuff because we have to build the PCB, a bit of software because we have to be able to implement all this math in software and code. And then also it will require a bit of mathematical knowledge to be able to model the ADCS. So if any of those three things are of interest to you, the ADCS is definitely a great place to start. Anyone who wants to work with building PCBs, which is also super fucking cool, this is a great subsystem. I'll pass it off to Hannah for EPS. Hannah, if you're talking right now, you might be muted. Maybe she's not here. Hannah. Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. So my name's Hannah. I am the electrical power system lead. So basically for the electrical power system, we're very collaborative. So we're working with all the other sub teams to find out how much power they need, how much, and working with ADCS. So that's what we're going to work on first, is we're going to try and get a first draft for the power requirements from all the sub teams. And so that'll allow us to be able to start working on, how many solar power panels we need, how much power we need to distribute to each subsystem. If you want to go into electrical engineering, I would suggest looking into the electrical power system. This would really give you a head start with all the stuff like that. And then after, we'll just start on finding all the major components. So all the power distribution systems, batteries, solar panels. And then after that, then we'll go a little bit more specific and figure out exactly how to connect all of those.
So we'll get Danny to go next with structures.
Yeah, so for structures, the first thing that we're currently working on is our 3D print of the model, our first original model. It's super basic. After that, we want to make a lot of improvements on it. And something about structures is we're going to be working with a lot of other sections because we need to make sure everything fits together. It's kind of the main point of it. And something else we want to get done is creating a parts list so that we know everything that we need to get CAD'd and then start making them. And then I think the next slide is payload. Yeah, so for payload, we want to finalize our camera choice, which is probably going to be our main payload. And then we're going to want to have a secondary payload, so we need to brainstorm some ideas for that. And then we want to start creating what that's going to look like within the structure and making a CAD for that.
One thing I actually just wanted to mention on this that I should have said during the CSTC slide is when we were talking to the person running the competition, they said that last year or in the previous competition, their goal was to have a payload as a camera so that we could take pictures of things on Earth. And they said that's probably going to be the next payload design as well. But it's still dependent on the rules that get sent out. And if we, as Danny was saying, if we have extra room, we'll definitely put on a secondary payload to do some other sorts of research as well.
So my name's Kyle. I'm not to be confused with my brother on the exec team, Kyle Madden. So this subsystem, command and data handling, it's pretty much the main onboard computer and the communication between the other boards. So we're going to be developing the real-time operating system based off of a framework called CFS, which is, if you were at the informational meeting, you would learn that is actually a NASA-built framework, and currently NASA satellites have it already on it. So our goal is, while we're designing in Eagle the onboard computer circuit board. We're also going to be developing the software for it and testing it on a Raspberry Pi, and then hopefully by the end of the year we'll be able to have the finished circuit board and the program done. So if you're interested in programming or electrical design or like any like embedded systems kind of thing, command data handling is a really cool subsystem to get into. So for communications, again, we're going to be running a parallel design with it, where we're so communication just encompasses how the satellite is going to talk to the ground station on Earth. So we're going to be designing a special circuit board to hold all the components, and then also we're going to be running mathematical simulations, probably in MATLAB, to figure out if all of our components will actually be able to transmit the data that we want without it getting messed up through the air. So if you're interested in PCB design, specifically any like radio frequency communication design, so like the same kind of stuff that your Bluetooth earpods do and stuff, this would be really cool. We're also going to be doing some microcontroller, like some classic microcontroller programming in both C and Arduino. So if you're interested in that, communications is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, so my name is Redwan. I'm one of the heads on the analysis team, and if you wanna work on a lot of like maybe less engineering but more sciencey type of role on this team, then you can come join this team. For the first month, we're going to be working with other sub teams to try to figure out wherever support information that they need and some other stuff that we could go into. And then another big goal for our team is try to develop a model and to visualize and simulate our orbit throughout space. So, and then to help make sure that that all of our hardware and stuff that we will work in a predicted way, and we can simulate it and it will work properly. So if you want to work with that kind of science aspect of our team, analysis is a good way to go.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention on that too is I know most people here are probably engineers, but this is the sort of stuff that if you learn, it's going to sound really complex, but if you learn orbital mechanics, which once you get into it aren't super difficult, I mean, at that point you're, sort of on your way to becoming like an actual rocket scientist, which sounds, pretty cool. So I wouldn't like think all the math would put you guys off, because I've heard a lot of people, not enjoying calc and stuff. There's a really cool way to apply the math that we've been learning, so I definitely recommend it. So the last thing I want to mention on the design side is it's kind of hard to just say, okay, we're going to go build a satellite. That's our end goal. That's the only thing we're caring about, and just go off kind of thing. You have to have incremental steps. You can't just, build it overnight, that kind of thing. So what we're setting up, and we already have one planned out right now, is sort of like a competition, but also just like a way to apply your knowledge. They're specifically for the design team, but anyone can compete in them. The idea is to take the stuff you've been learning and apply it to something that's actually useful. So for example, if you're in the middle of doing something on the communication side and you've just modeled something in MATLAB, maybe we'll go, okay, let's try and model, say, like a quadcopter in MATLAB or something like that, and make a cool visual for it. So while it's not directly in line with building a CubeSat, it's definitely going to be something that you can say, hey, I just took all of this knowledge that I learned and actually applied it to something useful. And the reason that's so important is because you don't really remember stuff just from learning it. You have to actually use it to be able to remember it. So it's a very good way to do that. So keep an eye out for that kind of stuff.
Just to piggyback. Oh, sorry.
Yep. No, go.
Just to piggyback on that, we are planning to make the competitions not like long-term projects. It's something that you can do in a few days to help you learn a specific subject that you need for your subsystem. So don't worry if like that. We're not gonna give you like, here's CubeSat stuff that you have to do, and also here's this non-CubeSat stuff that you have to do on top of it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. They're especially the lower tier ones are very easy to jump through. if you're more experienced. If you're not, we have a bunch of stuff that can, help introduce you to the subject, but they're all skills you're eventually going to need. So it's good to learn them, while you can. Speaking on the information side, we've been generating a bunch of these like intro video playlists. I find, at least for me personally, it's pretty easy to learn from a YouTube video because you can both see and hear what's happening. And so that kind of covers like 2 out of 3 of the learning, the ways you can learn. So what we've done is we've kind of broken off all these different categories of things you might be learning. And we've ordered these videos from easiest to hardest. And the idea is every week we'll pick a couple of videos and just be like, hey, watch these, make sure you attentively watch them and sort of absorb the information that's happening, because it's going to end up helping you do the actual design work that you need to do. So we have like these intro surveys, as we're calling them. So for each design team that you're interested in, just go and fill one of those out so we can get an idea of like how experienced you are in certain things. Don't worry about, over exaggerating your skills or anything like that. Be honest about it, because it'll give us the best idea of where we should be starting in terms of teaching people. So I'm going to pass it off to Henry and the ops team and let them take over. I think Henry.
Hey guys, so
yeah, can
you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, so I'm Henry, and I'm kind of heading up the like administration and operations side of everything. So that's everything that's kind of logistical about the club. So kind of finances, marketing, any sort of like merchandise or regulations and internal, external relations with the school or any like third parties that we might be dealing with. So we're going to give kind of a brief overview and for people that are kind of interested in the engineering side of things, you can also like help out here and there with maybe a little bit of the finances. Maybe if you're thinking that like you might want to like do something business related, like we can definitely do that for you. Or if you want to like run some of the social media pages, there's definitely lots of opportunities to do that. So then we'll kind of get into the specific subsections if you want to go to the next slide, Jeff.
For sure. I also gave you permission to control my screen if you want to do that. If not, just say next slide and I'll do it.
All right. Okay. So external, I don't know if Dan is on the call, and he can kind of speak to some of the external stuff that's happening.
He's not here.
Okay. No worries. So on the external side of things, we want to do some community outreach. We were planning on like doing some team building stuff where we might go to the food bank or like maybe give a space lecture at an elementary school or whatever it might be. Don't really know how that's going to work with COVID. But yeah, that's something that we'll tackle in the near future. And then also anything related to kind of third-party testing that we need done with the satellite, any sort of like materials testing or temperature testing where we're going to need like drastic changes in temperatures, like that might be done third-party if we can't do it at the university. So that's kind of all the external stuff as well. If you want to go to the next slide, Jeff. And then Mr. Madden.
Hey guys, so I'm going to be heading up internal. So it's a lot to do with supporting you guys. So one of the biggest things that's going to be happening like over the next week is I'm going to try to figure out a way to try to communicate with each of you guys. I want to see what your interests are, what you want to learn, like because everything's virtual, it's hard to really develop a team. So we're going to try to get ahead of that. And you guys have already brought up Among Us today. I didn't just put that in the slide now. I actually planned out that before. So definitely going to try to do some fun team building stuff there. So stay tuned for that. And that's pretty much all I have to say right now. Just going to be reaching out to you soon.
I guess this is me too, because Dave's not here. So this is probably like the most important team right now. This is marketing. This is like our number one goal right now. I know we're trying to build a CubeSat, but in order to build a CubeSat, you gotta have a bit of money too. So there's a bunch of things happening at the school right now that are potential funding avenues, but we have to actually apply to them so they know that we exist. So that's definitely like a huge number one thing that we have to get done. But we also can't just rely on the school. to fund us. We also have to look to like third-party sponsors. So that's a bunch of commercial places, local places in London that might be interested in recruiting us. They might want to be potential sponsors for us, all sorts of things like that. Also on the super cool side is any of the merchandise that you get to flex when we're finally allowed back on campus. The only way we're going to get that merchandise is we have people on marketing who are super good at making cool designs and know how to reach out to companies to order products and that sort of stuff. And we also need a bit more online presence. I know we've bugged you guys enough on our social media, but we kind of want to consolidate that all into one website, which as soon as we get sponsorship, notice how sponsorship's kind of the key to all of these. Once we get that, then we're able to have a website as well where we can start putting a bunch of our cool demo videos, any of the stuff you've been working on, any of our marketing material, all that kind of stuff can go on the website. So definitely a very, very important team. So I hope people who are interested in that make that known, because it's going to be coming up in the near future. Oh, I kind of mixed marketing and finance, didn't I? All you.
Finance, we need money. COVID is making us get a lot of rejections. So with that being said, it's going to be a big team effort to reach out to companies. So if you want to maybe improve your communication skills, build your network with companies, we're going to reach out to you, or join the Slack channel, I guess. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff with finance soon and reaching out to companies. We got a big goal. So please help us out. Thanks. That's it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I totally messed that up and did marketing and finance together, but that just shows how important it is. We need sponsorship. We need people to know how professional and supportive of a team we are and the goals we're going to be achieving in the future. So we definitely want people who are highly motivated on our finance team. So that sort of wraps up all of the different sub-teams. Just as a bit of additional information, honestly, reach out to us at any point. If you have questions, hit us up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Slack, send a carrier pigeon, smoke signal, anyway, reach out to us. We'll talk to you guys. Don't be afraid to reach out to other members on the team and just chat and stuff like that. I want this to be a really cool project that we're working on, but also a chance for us all to learn and develop together. So definitely don't be afraid to talk in our various channels. Again, with merchandise, the way that our budget's structured is that part of your team fee will be going to a shirt for sure, but then some of it will go to some additional merchandise options, as well as a couple other budget items. So we'll be sending out a Google form to get an idea of what the most popular merch item is, and then we'll use that to decide going forward. And the last thing I want to mention is if you realize at any point that this isn't for you, that it's, you don't like space, you don't like us, you don't like seeing my face all the time, that's fine. Just let us know, or just leave the Slack. If you keep getting emails from us and you're like, man, this guy's annoying, just return an email and be like, oh, hey, I'm trying out something else. I don't want to continue with WASP, and we'll 100% understand. We get people have lives and all that, so don't worry.
I don't know, I started missing Evan and Peter.
Hey, Paige, can you mute yourself, please?
Paige, what's up?
Paige,
oh my god, that's so annoying. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so
disturbing.
No worries.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. But we actually are almost at the end, so don't worry, just hang in here. The next steps here are probably the most important to getting your feet on the ground and getting started with WASP. If you haven't joined the Slack, I don't know how you ended up here. Maybe you just click the link from the email, but make sure you join the Slack. That's where everything's happening. Again, as we were saying, send a message in those channels that you're interested in, get to know people, see what other people's interests are. At the bare minimum, at least join the channels of the things you're interested in. And then definitely keep an eye out in those channels for messages from team leads. We want to be getting started basically ASAP. We've been doing a bunch of work over the summer to get ready for this point right now. And so we really want to hit the ground with our feet running. I think that's the quote. We're going to finish off. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. We don't want to take up too much more of your guys' time because it's precious. But if you have questions, feel free to come off mute or put them in chat or however you want to, and we'll try and answer them.
Jeff, there was a question. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was having trouble joining like the specific sub teams on Slack.
So you had trouble joining them?
Yeah, I don't know where to find. I don't know how to join them.
For sure. So if you're on Slack on your computer, there should be a little plus sign next to channels. And if you click on that, it should say browse channels. I'm not 100% sure how it works on mobile. But yeah, it hides all the ones you're not joined with or joined to. So yeah.
Yeah, I found it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Were you about to say that one in the chat there, Kyle?
Yeah. So is there anything they have to do other than join the Slack?
No, just join the Slack. And honestly, I would recommend joining if you're kind of on the fence with a certain sub team. Still join it anyway. There's no like super hard commitment. You can just sort of check it out, see how it is, and then you go, okay, maybe I don't want to do this sub team. I'll move to another one, or stay with the ones that I have already. But there's nothing formal. You don't have to worry about it. The Google Forms that we're sending out with the surveys are just to get an idea of everyone's skill level. Hopefully that answers your question. And if there's any more, go for it. Nice. Okay. If you guys do have any questions after the fact, I mean, again, reach out to us. We'll be very receptive to questions. So last thing I want to mention though is that what we're doing is kind of like really complex and really cool. And I hope that motivates everyone out there. And I hope people that are feeling a little overwhelmed, with school, with COVID, with building an entire satellite, don't. We're going to work our way through it. It'll be a slow process as we get starting, but you'll definitely kind of feel your groove and be able to jump in and become basically your own rocket scientist, which, I mean, that's kind of the thing that keeps all of us going, is the idea that we're going to be able to do something amazing. So definitely, stick it out and see, even if it's a little hard. I promise things will get easier over time. But it's definitely going to be a lot of fun, and we're all super pumped about it. And we hope you guys are super pumped about it too. We have a ton of interest for this, as you can see by the number of people on the Zoom call. So hopefully we're able to share the workload and get a decent amount done. So I'm going to leave it at that, unless anyone else has anything they want to say. I think 40 minutes is good for a full team meeting and introduction. If you want to follow up with this afterwards, go for it. We'll upload this to an unlisted video on YouTube, send it out so that you can go back if you have any questions or didn't catch something, go for it. And then we'll catch you guys on Slack. Yeah, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys for coming, and I'll see you guys in the future.